All right. Morning, evening, afternoon, all, and welcome back to the Plug Live podcast. Wherever, whenever you're listening to this, I hope you're having a great day because we've had quite an eventful weekend. Shane Lowry won for the first time since 2019 this weekend at the BMW PGA Championship. And Padraig Harrington also, which many people might not know, picked up his third PGA Tour Champions title of the year at the Ascension Charity Classic in St. Louis. Oh, as a patriotic Irishman, what a weekend! But the story didn't end. The story didn't end there. We had multiple storylines going across for this. The tournament at Wentworth was respectfully reduced to 54 holes after the Queen passed away on Thursday. Rory McIlroy charged again to put in an effort on Sunday. John Rahm just came up a little bit short. The LIV golfers, 18 of them turned up at Wentworth, and some of them made a little bit of a mockery of themselves, which I will touch on a little bit later in the podcast. We have the President's Cup coming up next week. Last week, the DP World Tour announced that there was a new Seve trophy on the way, but it's going to be renamed the Hero Cup. The PGA Tour is actually back this week at Fortinet Championship down in Silverado. It just seems like there's so much happening in the world of golf right now, but probably the biggest revelation is the fact that Greg Norman has allowed shorts on a LIV Golf Tour, which, in my view, will now be known as the number one golf tour in the world. Remarkable change in the world of golf. But no, let's chat about this. Shane Lowry. All right. People who know me know that I love Shane Lowry and I love Rory McIlroy. Partly because I'm a patriotic Irish guy, like I mentioned, but also partly because they're just two of the most likable guys on tour. Shane Lowry's just this easygoing character. Rory McIlroy's just a leader, speaks so eloquently when he does speak. They're both incredible people, but Shane Lowry now moves up to 19th in the world. And over the last 6 months, he's been, according to Data Golf, the 11th best player in the world as per strokes gained total. His first win since Port Rush. He mentioned that this week that when he looks at the tournaments at the start of the year, this is one of the top 6 or 7 tournaments at the start of the year that you're looking to win. That was a direct quote from his post-round interview. And he did it at Wentworth in incredible fashion. He went bogey-free. The thing about Shane Lowry is he's always played well at Wentworth, which some people might not know. He's had 7 top 17s and 8 starts before this week at Wentworth. And over the last 4 weeks, he was trending. He finished T83 at the Wyndham, T46 at the St. Jude, T12 at the BMW, and he finished 31st in the FedEx Cup, which, according to his Instagram post, left him deeply disappointed that he didn't make the trip to Eastlake. But then he comes back and wins the main event on the DP World Tour this week at Wentworth Golf Club. Honestly, hats off. He went bogey-free for the whole week. And you know what? Like I mentioned, he's been the 11th best player in the world this year. Could have won at the 2022 Honda Classic, but the rain came down 18, and Sepp Straka actually won. I personally, and I tweeted this out, whether if you're following me on Instagram or on Twitter, you'll know this. I was so impressed with how he got over the line today, or on Sunday. The way that he composed himself, like going back to this, right? This is his first win in the last 3 years. At the 2019 Open, when he won his first major at Port Rush, like I mentioned, he made 4 bogeys in 7 holes between the 8th hole and the 14th hole. And he did look a little bit shaky. Whereas at Wentworth, he seemed composed. He was smiling with Bo, and Rory was charging. Rory makes that putt on 16 and make the birdie. Shane just makes the wise decisions. He's unfazed by the pressure. He's shaping the ball both ways. Like, somebody actually reached out to me yesterday on Instagram and they asked, what's Shane's natural shot shape? And me personally, I always would have said a fade. That's what I always would have said. But yeah, he just seemed so comfortable hitting that draw. And then there was some phase where he held off a little finish. I thought it was unbelievable. But listen, if you have an opinion on which way Shane prefers to shape the ball, it's something I should know. And I thought I did know. I thought it would have been a fade. But now I'm not sure. So if you have no opinion on this, reach out to me on Twitter, reach out to me on Instagram. I would love to hear your thoughts on it. Yeah, but like I mentioned, he made 4 bogeys in 7 holes at the 2019 Open. He looked a little bit shaky, but on Sunday he just seemed so composed, and I was so impressed with how he performed under the pressure. And it wasn't a weak leaderboard either. Like, he had Rory McIlroy there, he had he had Rory McIlroy charging. He had John Rahm, who set the clubhouse lead. He's fighting for the PGA Tour, the DP World Tour, and he had to overcome Taylor Gooch, who was also charging and made an eagle on the 18th hole, which we'll speak about a little bit about later. Patrick Reed set the clubhouse lead earlier in the day, which seemed like carnage was going to erupt if he won. I just thought it was unbelievable how well Shane played. And genuinely hats off to him, because he would have been disappointed with his season this year so far. He would have felt like this was a season that he should have had multiple wins. And he didn't. And he didn't have one win on the PGA Tour this season. And he wins at Wentworth. And I think that will just perk him up. He mentioned in his interview after that he wants to become a multiple-time winner every year, a multi-winner. I genuinely think this kicks him on. Like, the thing about Shane is there's no problem with his iron play and his off-the-tee game. But over the last 6 months, he's ranked 78th out of the top 150 players in the world in strokes gained putting. And I'm not going to relate him to Morikawa or JT and put Shane in the same bracket as them. But the thing we always speak about with Morikawa and JT is when Morikawa and JT have a good putter, their iron play is so naturally good that when they get a warm putter on a week, they're always going to be top 5 or contending. And it feels like Shane is going a little bit that direction as well. And yeah, I thought his win this week was so good. He's now gained strokes in 2 out of his last 3 tournaments. Like, even if we take the BMW PGA Championship or the BMW Championship in the FedEx Cup, he lost 0.04 strokes per round putting and still finished T12. Like, just if he gets any way of a lukewarm putter, his iron play has been that good this season. Like, even let's see the RBC Canadian Open, he finished T10. He lost 0.4 strokes putting per round and still finished T10. Like, then the other tournaments where he actually gained strokes putting, it's 2nd at the Honda, 13th at the Players, 12th at the Valspar, 3rd at the Masters, 3rd at the RBC Heritage, 23rd at the PGA Championship, where he just didn't have a good iron week. If he gets that putter rolling, it's so good. But genuinely, I'm not just saying this because he's from my own country. It feels like Shane's going to turn a corner now going into next year. This is going to finish him up. He's coming into the strong end of the DP World Tour season, going to Abu Dhabi, going to Dubai over the next few months. I really, really hope that he kicks on from this and goes out and wins, hopefully 2 times next year on the PGA Tour. But to win this flagship event, one that he would have been highlighting at the start of the year, would have been a great one to win. Honestly, yeah. I think this is going to like stand to him. Fair play to you, Shane Lowry. Spent 8 minutes talking to Shane Lowry there, which I told myself I wouldn't. But anyways, we did. But it wasn't Shane. Like, Shane had to overcome adversity here. Like I mentioned, he heard Rory made the putt on 16. Actually, I want to touch on Shane Lowry's wins. So Shane Lowry now has 6 professional wins. He won the 2019, 2015 WGC Bridgestone. 2009, he won the Irish Open as an amateur. To me, this is how they all rank. Number 1 is the Open Championship, where he won by 6 strokes over Tommy Fleetwood, which probably doesn't get spoken enough about at Portrush. 6 strokes is a massive victory. Anyways, we move on. And he did look a little bit shaken during that final round, but he did overcome the adversity there. Number 2 to me is the Irish Open, defeating Robert Rock as an amateur in a playoff in 2009, his first win in the blustery conditions, coming down the stretch. Massive victory for him. To me, that's number 2. To me, number 3 is this BMW PGA. I think he's such a patriotic person that he loves winning in Europe, especially in Ireland or Great Britain. And yeah, to me, this ranks number 3. He mentioned this top 6 or 7 tournaments start of the year that you want to win. He went and did it. So that's number 3. So number 1, Open Championship. Number 2, the Irish Open. Number 3, the BMW PGA Championship. But yeah, like I mentioned, he didn't have to have an easy ride in on Sunday. He had to fight against Rory McIlroy, who was coming behind him. Yeah, let me just read this quote from Rory. and you can make up your own mind, and I'll give my opinion. Rory McIlroy said, I think it was Jamie Weir from Sky Sports after, I struggled today. I didn't hit my irons very well. I was sort of scrambling a lot, but I got the most out of my round. I wish I'd made a 4 and 17, but apart from that, I dug in there and did what I needed to do to give myself a chance going down 18. And that's all you can ask for. So here's the thing about Rory McIlroy. He's just coming off this FedEx Cup win where he had $18 million in his back pocket, possibly weighing him down on Sunday with all that amount of cash, having to carry it around Wentworth. I liked what Roy did on Sunday. I thought he gave himself a fighting chance. He made 4 birdies in the back 9. He didn't shy away from the pressure. That putt on 18 that didn't drop for eagle. Honest to God, I have never, ever, ever seen a putt roll so slow and get to the hole. I thought it was going to get halfway, max. But then it just kept taking evolution after evolution. It looks like it's in the whole way. It looks like it's on the perfect line. Evolution after evolution. And it just finishes just about 2 centimeters on the right-hand side. He puts his head in his arms. He cannot believe it. Yeah, I don't know. It's I think he'll take a little bit of relief that it went to Shane Lowry and nobody else, because obviously we all know he's best friends with Shane Lowry, but he scrambled a lot. He gave himself a good chance. He would have wished he would have made a birdie on 17, but he just hit that beautiful tree wood, which he probably just pulled like 4 yards left. If that's 4 more yards right, he's a perfect angle into that flag for an up and down, and he's potentially going to a playoff against Shane. That would have been sick. But the light was running out at Wentworth, and I don't know if we would have had time for a playoff. It would have had to have gone to Monday. So I'd say Keith Pelly, the chairman, the commissioner of the European Tour or the DP World Tour, is pretty relieved. I want to touch on Rory here a little bit. I think he'll be a little bit disappointed with his season. Like, to win 3 times in the PGA Tour this season, the CJ Cup, the Canadian, and the FedEx Cup, 4 top 8s in the major championships, he would have traded everything, and I mean everything, to have one major championship in his back pocket. He doesn't care about money. He has enough. Apparently his businesses are worth like £400 million or something, or dollars or something like that. Something crazy. He doesn't care about money. It doesn't matter to him. He would have traded that 18 million at the FedEx Cup for a major championship. He's going to walk away a little bit disappointed. And he mentioned after the FedEx Cup that he was still thinking about the Open Championship where he lost to Cameron Smith. I think he'll be disappointed. He says one of the best, I think it was like the best strokes gained total metrics of his career this year. Like, it's the best he's ever played, and to walk away without a major victory. He's now going 8 years, going on to 9 years without a major championship. I think he'd be a little bit disappointed. Even if he had won this week, I think he still would have traded all in for one more major championship. I don't think he's going to be shy about that either. This season he's gained 2.54 strokes total. Like, that's remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. When you think about 2014, he only gained 2.51 strokes total. That was the second best. Like, he's just playing incredible golf. But you make up your mind if you think he's going to win a major next year. I'm not sure if he will. I really don't know. I don't want to say that I don't think he can, because then people are going to come back and say, "Oh, hey, you told us he wasn't going to win. Look at this. Look at this." I don't think he'll actually win a major next year. I'll go out here and say, I'll put my heart on the line. It's not that he doesn't have the talent. I just think when you're going 9 years or without a major championship, I think it's so hard to turn it around. That's my opinion. But listen, the European Tour, the DP World Tour, the European Ryder Cup team will be pretty happy with the way the boys performed at Wentworth. Like, John Rahm finished solo second with a back 9 29 on a par 37 with a bogey to set the clubhouse target at 16 under. But he ended the week tied second along Rory McIlroy. So if we're speaking about disappointment, actually, let's just speak about John Rahm. Like, solo second at Wentworth in 2019 and T2 now in 2022 at Wentworth. Let's keep him in mind for next year. But if we're speaking about Rory being disappointed with his season, However disappointed that Rory might be, I think Jon Rahm will be livid with his season. He's Andy Lack, right? Let me just name drop for a second here. I've actually managed to meet him last week down in Waterville. We played a round of golf, but he's always spoken on his podcast, on the Inside Golf podcast, about how good Jon Rahm has been off the tee. Like, he's had a historically good off the tee season and one of the best ever in history. And to only have one win at the Mexico Open, where he's 3-1, like, that's got to be pretty disappointing for him. He's definitely not walking away. Like, let's just name off some of his results. Second at the Century, third at Farmers Insurance, 10th at the Phoenix Open, 9th at the WGC Match Play, win at the Mexico Open, 10th at the Memorial, 12th at the US Open, 5th at FedEx St. Jude, 8th at the BMW, 2nd at the BMW PGA, 15th at Tour Championship. Like, one win. And how good, like, the only tournament he lost strokes off the tee in two tournaments was the Genesis, where he finished tied 55th, and the Memorial, where he finished tied for 10th. One win. And he's 3-1. It was the weakest field that he could have got. I think he's going to be fuming with the season. Now, genuinely, I think out of all the players to bounce back next season, I think Jon Rahm is like the number one contender. I think he's too good. He's too mentally stubborn to fade away. It's not like one of these players who has one good season last year and wins at Torrey Pines, US Open, and then just fades away. I think he genuinely does come back next season. He's all around around the green game is excellent. Hasn't been the best this year. His putting is very, very good. His approach play is very, very good. His off the tee game is tremendous. Probably number one or number two on tour or something like that. Definitely top three. I think he'd be disappointed, but maybe he kicks on from this with a back 929, like I mentioned, on a par 37 with a bogey. Maybe he kicks on from this. But I think the European Tour team will be pretty happy with how their players are playing. Another stalwart of the European Ryder Cup team is Victor Hovland. Right. I'm going to take this tweet directly from DG Betting _ at DG Betting _ on Twitter, who said, if you watch the final round, this isn't direct quote. If you watch the final round that Wentworth, Victor Hovland had major issues with his off the tee game. He missed a lot of shots to the left. He missed a lot, and he just couldn't find a fairway. And this isn't the first time this has happened. Victor was minus 1.4 strokes off the tee in the final round at St. Andrews, minus 2.4 in the final round at Eastlake, and now incredibly poor once again at Wentworth. That's a direct quote from DG Betting. And he also goes on to say, not a great trend for such a normally reliable driver of the ball. Positive off the tee in 53 out of his last 57 events worldwide. Like, Victor is he's incredible with his irons. He's actually a good putter, which a lot of people don't give him credit for. And he's excellent at finding fairways. He's not short. He's excellent at finding fairways. But this is 3 tournaments now in the last 2 months, last 6 weeks, where he's been poor in the final round with his driver and just started missing them all around the place. Maybe it's something that he gains 0.6 strokes off the tee on average per round this season. Like, he's a good driver of the golf ball. Maybe it's a point for concern. You do what you want with Victor Hovland. I'm just moving down the golf board or down the leaderboard here, and there is somebody that I do want to get to because he's involved with the LIV camp, and I won't mention him just yet, but Soren Kelsen is I'm just looking up here what he is in the world. I think he was number 608 in the world. He finished tied for 5th. Sorry, I'm after stuttering here for ages. He finished tied for 5th at the stalwart event of the DP World Tour. He's now 439th in the world. Massive week for him. He finished T7 at the Hero Open on the DP World Tour 6 weeks ago. But apart from that, it's been a a pretty poor season for him. Before this week, he was ranked, I think it was like 608th in the world. Massive week for him. I think he'd be pretty happy with this, getting up to 439th in the world. I mean, it's up something like 180 or 170 places. Kudos to you, sir. Big week for you. And I want to also mention, are we allowed to refer to Billy Horschel as the golden boy of the PGA Tour right now? Like, came to Wentworth this week. He was defending his title at Wentworth, and he finished T9. He has been like, he is the one person who a lot of people have changed their opinion on over the last few weeks. A lot. And I've never had an issue with Billy Horschel. I've got into the game of golf, 3 years ago or 4 years ago. I've never seen anything to make me dislike him. I think he's a good guy. He's a big West Ham supporter, which I'm not, but he just seems like a normal guy. And whenever I see videos of him, now granted a lot of it is for the media, but whenever I see videos of him, he seems to be giving people a lot of attention. And I'm actually a Billy Horschel fan, but he's been defending the PGA Tour like crazy over the past few months. Like crazy. And he's slating some of these boys are going off to play LIV Tour. Billy Horschel, like, I like you. I think a lot of people have grown to like you. He finished T9 this week, the golden boy of the PGA Tour. Potentially. You make up your mind. Let me just mention Wentworth as well. So the problem, maybe not the problem, but if you're watching Wentworth, people come down and there's 2 par 5s in the 17th and 18th hole. There's a par 5 in the 13th hole. The back 9 can be a little bit slow. It provides unbelievable entertainment. And I will give it that. Like, you can finish eagle there, like, and still be in contention. You can be coming up to 17th with a 3-shot deficit and still finish and still win the tournament or get into a playoff. There is potential to go eagle. And the winners that's produced over the last few years, last 6 years, let me just give this. Shane Lowry won by 1 stroke. Horschel won by 1 stroke. Hatton won by 4 strokes. Willett won by 3. Molinari by 2. And Alex Noren by 2. Like, even 2 strokes leads, that could easily be overturned on the 18th hole. Or the 17th hole. Or the 13th hole, where it's easy to make an eagle as well. Like, there's 6 good winners. They would have been 6 of the best players within the field. And even just, not even that, it's the runners up. Like, Rory McIlroy's finished runner-up twice in the last 6 years. John Rahm's finished runner-up twice in the last 6 years, in 2019 and 2022. I really like Wentworth. And people can be critical of the course. It's not the best course in the world. But it does provide excellent entertainment. A lot of golfers like it. Matt Fitz and Rory McIlroy and Shane Lowry, they all love Wentworth. It provides an excellent finish. That's all I have to say about the course. All right, let's talk about these 18 elephants in the room at Wentworth. So there's 18 players from LIV Golf that came to play at Wentworth this week. And Shane Lowry came out in an interview on Tuesday, I believe, with Jamie Weir from Sky Sports, saying that he'd feel uncomfortable if he was playing LIV, and he turned up here. Martin Keimer released an interview or some sort of statement during the week that he would have felt too uncomfortable. He's a LIV player now. He would have felt too uncomfortable to turn up and play at Wentworth this week, feeling like he was uninvited. It's like turning up to a birthday party uninvited and you've no present. And it's just like, hey, I'm here. I'm playing. I'm joining the party, guys, no matter what you think. Some of the players came out and said that they felt like if a player like Patrick Reed, or Ian Poulter or Lee Westwood, who supported the DP World Tour for the last number of years, has played at Wentworth the last 2 or 3 years, they potentially have a basis to turn up and play. But if you're an Abraham Answer or a Taylor Gooch and you've never played in the European Tour and you turn up this week and you've played, it's like, what are we doing here? Like, just there to get world golf ranking points. But I don't even know if I agree with that. I don't think these players should be turning up to play. I think they went, like, maybe somebody can reach out to me and give me some sort of opinion about this. I think they went to LIV. And I'm not this guy that's saying, oh, hey, get out of our tour, you went to LIV. I'm just saying, Jamie, like, if you go and make a decision to play in another tour because they've offered you a massive amount of money, and you're just going to say, right, I want to come back here and take 18 spots in the field because I'm qualified for, after suing the DP World Tour or a court case, I don't think they should be in the field. I don't get these people who say, "Oh, Westwood deserves it." Oh, Poulter. You made your decision. Like maybe Greg Norman told you that you're going to get world golf ranking points like sooner rather than later at the LIV Tour, and it hasn't worked out that way. Fair enough, but he's lied to you. You've made a mess of it. I don't think you should be allowed to pick and choose which tournaments you want to play. Like PGA Tour has to grant you access if you want to go and play in another tour. And I know that there was a clause in the DP World Tour that does actually allows players to play in different tours. I don't think any of these players have a right to turn up this week and play. I genuinely don't. And if you have a strong opinion of this, do reach out, because I will message you about it and have a proper conversation. But I don't think so. I don't think they have a basis. I think they made a decision. They've gone to the LIV Tour. They were made false promises, and they're turning up this week, and they're just trying to get world golf ranking points and taking places from players in the field that really needed it. I don't know. But let's just run through a few of the players, because some of them actually did finish pretty well. Taylor Gooch was the top LIV player thanks to an eagle on the 18th, which lifted him to 4th spot and 14 under. Well, like, now the one thing I will say is these LIV Tour players may have like very, very limited events where they can qualify for world golf ranking points. Like if they want to get into the Masters next year, they need to be top 50 in the world. And the events that they're going to play in the LIV Tour won't give them world golf ranking points. So that anytime that they get to play in a field like Wentworth and they get to qualify for world golf ranking points, they need to make the most of it. And in fairness, Taylor Gooch probably got what he was looking for. He jumped from 46th to 35th in the world with his 4th spot finish at Wentworth. And that probably qualifies him for the Masters next year. Like, to sit there on Wednesday evening and say, I have got to play my best golf possible this week because I need to qualify for the Masters next year, and actually go out and do it and finish 4th. That's pretty impressive. This is a man who compared winning a team LIV Tour event to what it must have been like at a Ryder Cup, and he's never played the Ryder Cup. He signed up for LIV and didn't even realize that he was after signing up for LIV. Like, his I don't know what's going through his head, but his golf game was pretty good this week. And I don't know what to make of Taylor Gooch. It just seems like there's not much there. It just seems like there's a bit of air in his head and he's not sure what he's thinking. He's just going with the flow. And he says, Greg Norman came out and told him, hey, if you play with us, we'll give you this much money. He's like, yeah, didn't even think about the consequences. But he did finish 4th and will probably qualify for the Masters next year. Patrick Reed. So he shot 63 on Sunday. I alluded to the fact that he had the clubhouse lead at one stage. He finished T5. Pretty good. Like, I know he supported DP World Tour for the last couple of seasons. Personally, like I mentioned, I don't think any of these players should have been playing at Wentworth. I don't think they had any right to come and just, like, imagine if a player was able to play LIV and play PGA Tour. Just because the PGA Tour has a clause in their contract saying that you can't play other tours unless the PGA Tour grants you permission. We'd be fuming if they were playing PGA Tour as well. I don't think they should be playing DP World Tour. But anyways, he shot 63 on Sunday, finished T5, had a clubhouse lead at one stage. If you get a chance, try and read his interview with the Times London. He comes out with some mad suggestions. Now, he does mention that his daughter is getting bullied, which, because of Patrick Reed's actions over the last few years, well, that should never ever happen. But Patrick Reed also comes out and says, like, that the media paints him and brands him with this brush that he's a horrible person, and but like, the thing is, Patrick Reed, there's no smoke without fire. You were spotted pushing sand away from behind your ball the week before the President's Cup. Your caddy got in a fight at the President's Cup. At the Torrey Pines, you accused that your ball had plugged in the ground when it physically could not have. By the laws of physics, it could not have plugged in the ground. So you could get a preferable lie. You allegedly were caught stealing and cheating at college events. The media doesn't paint you as this horrible person. You're the one coming out and suing the Golf Channel and Brandon Chamblee for $750 million. What? The media might just hype it up a little bit, but you have done these actions, and just because you do this does not, like, we should not just ignore it and say, oh, well, Don't paint me as a bad person. Like, I know I made a mistake and I made a lot of mistakes, but let's not focus on those. You've done this. Like, this is your fault. You've been the one caught cheating. Like, the cameras catch you. Like, don't come out to the media and say in an interview with the Times of London saying, "Oh, the media paints me as this." You've painted yourself as this. So congratulations on your T5 finish, but your perception will not change in the eyes of people because this is what you've done. Brandel Chambly has not made you push sand away from behind the ball. Brandel Chambly has not gone up and said that you had a plug lie. Brandel Chambly has not forced your caddy to get in fights at the President's Cup. All right, that's just my only thing on Patrick Reed. Let's keep moving through the circus here of LIV players, because whatever Taylor Gooch and Patrick Reed, hats off to them. They actually played pretty well this week. Let's mention this. Ian Poulter. So Keith Pelly, commissioner of the DP World Tour, held a meeting with DP World Tour players on Tuesday evening. And at this meeting, he asked players not to turn up with their LIV clothing. And who is the clown in the room that decides to turn up with their LIV clothing? Ian Poulter. Like, oh, that's I don't know how we've got to a situation where Ian Poulter and Sergio Garcia and Lee Westwood have become the most unlikable players on tour, but they really have. Keith Pelly, like Ian Poulter, you've brought the DP World Tour to court to ask them to make them allow you to play. If Keith Pelly comes out and asks you not to wear clothing, just don't do it. You don't need to brand yourself as this spiteful person that just has to go against the grain every single time that you have a chance. Just don't wear your hat. But his argument is, "Oh, I own part of this franchise. I can wear whatever I want." Like, what are we doing? Like, why? You don't need to have to confront everybody every single time. If Keith Pelly probably asked you to wear your hat, you probably wouldn't have worn it. Just on Twitter, he's coming out and constantly making slight digs. Like the DP World Tour released a graphic 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago with a list of names that would be at Wentworth this week. Ian Poulter wasn't included. He retweeted with a snide comment like, "Oh, I'll be there as well." It's like, get out of our face. Oh, I think he's just so self-entitled. He thinks that whatever he says should go, and he's acting like he's a stalwart of the PGA Tour. He's one of the greatest players to ever play the game. Ian, side note for you, you're not. Sorry to disappoint you. But let's keep moving through the circuit here. Sergio Garcia. Oh, that's what, like, he turned up on Thursday. He shot 76. The Queen then passes away on Thursday evening and play is postponed on Friday. Fair enough. He withdraws and he's spotted at a Texas college football match in Austin, like with his wife Angela. Like, what are we doing? Like, a 76, it's not like he shot an 88. A 76, you can actually come back and actually qualify for a top 10. Number one, and this isn't the biggest point, there are people out there gambling thousands of dollars on certain players to finish top 20, and to actually just go and say, "No, listen, I'm done. I'm off to Texas. I'm going to get caught on camera. I'm going to be interviewed." Like, disgraceful. And apparently he's going to get fined now because he had no medical exemption to actually withdraw from the tournament. I hope he gets fined €1 billion. Because he is another man who's just self-entitled. Like, back in July, at the end of July, he reversed his decision to quit DP World Tour. But sorry, my point was that even though number one is many fans bet thousands of dollars on these tournaments, that's not the biggest talking point here. These LIV golfers, there was 18 of them. They took positions and places in the field from people who may have really, really needed them. And the ironic thing is, Sergio Garcia turned up, took a spot in the field, withdrew on Thursday evening, and there's a Spaniard by the name of Alfredo Garcia Heredia who isn't in the places for his DP World Tour card for next year yet. If he was the first reserve for the tournament and ultimately missed out on what could have been described as like a career-changing week. If he had finished top 20 or top 30, he could have potentially secured his card for next year. And because of somebody like Sergio Garcia who wants to turn up for one round and shoot a bad round and say, you know what, I'm done. That's another Spanish golfer. One of John Rahm's best friends, apparently, Garcia Heredia. I hope I'm pronouncing that name right. And I just don't know what world we're living in where Sergio Garcia thinks he has the right to just turn up and take these places and then just withdraw on Thursday evening. It's the whole thing's bonkers. And we're really seeing some true colors come out here from some certain players. And I don't even mind if you want to go play LIV, go play LIV. Like LIV on my next, like LIV Golf is on in Chicago this week, and players be competing for a $25 million purse, I think, and with $20 million available in individual prize money. There's going to be Cameron Smith and Joaquin Neiman, Harold Varner III, and Cameron Tringali, Mark Leishman. If you go there to play your 54-hole no-cut event, okay, go do it. But don't come back and try and come back into the DP World Tour and say, oh, you know what, I want to play here as well because I want to get World Golf ranking points. You've taken your money. Greg Norman's made you false promises. Just go to Chicago this week and play that and don't come back to the DP World Tour. In saying that, the DP or the LIV Golf Tour, they probably had their dream finish at Boston. Like, they had Joaquin Neiman and Dustin Johnson and Arban Lahiri in a playoff. Like Joaquin Neiman had just moved to the DP or just moved to LIV Golf, and Arban Lahiri is there to represent the country of India with 1 billion people. But Dustin Johnson's like one of the number one names in the world. It's just they probably got their dream finish having that, and then DJ to make that putt on the 18th in the first playoff hole from whatever it was, like 25 feet or something, and see it drop it made for content gold for LIV Golf. So, like, I will say, and some people will probably disagree with me here, I do think LIV Golf has massive potential. And I was speaking with my two housemates last week, or 2 weeks ago. The team event might be bad right now, and it's badly covered, and it's too manic. Like, the shotgun start is horrible. I actually thought it would be good to have constant shots, but like, you have no idea if a player's playing the 17th hole, if they're playing the first hole, like the 17th hole might be a par 3, a really tough par 3. The first hole might be a really easy par 5, and there's a 1-shot difference. You have no idea. It's very, very hard to track what holes are the toughest out there and what holes each player is on. Number 2 is the team event is very badly covered. Everybody's focused on the solo event, it seems like. But if it was better covered, and this is what I was speaking to my housemates about, is I do think there would be massive appeal to golf fans all around the world. Like, imagine you as a team of, and this is a point I've always mentioned, if you had Justin Thomas and Rory McIlroy in one team, and then another team you'd Brooks Koepka and Dustin Johnson and 2 other golfers, and you could actually root for your player or root for a team. That would be so exciting. If Shane Lowry was playing on a team and Seamus Power and Rory McIlroy and I don't know, Padraig Harrington, like, we would go crazy rooting for that team. Whereas at the moment, there's just so many individual personalities in the PGA Tour that it can be hard to get behind one guy. And no laying up. I know DJ from No Laying Up has mentioned this multiple times in this podcast. Like, Thursday, Friday, the PGA Tour, it can be pretty hard to tune in for a lot of it. And we're lucky that over here in Europe, we get it in the evening where it's easy to watch. Yeah. But I do think the team event does have some potential if they get some better players in the world to join. I genuinely do. And if they cover it better. And if they change from the shotgun start. But they did have the dream finish down in Boston. And I'd say they'll be hoping for it again this week at Chicago. Speaking of team events, the President's Cup's on next week. I'll be speaking a little bit next week about how many points the USA team wins by. I'd love to know what odds they are. I mentioned a few weeks ago they were like 1 to 3, that people should just consider putting every bit of money that they have on 1 to 3, because if you put €600 on, you get €200 back. Actually, I'm not here to encourage people to bet. Bet responsibly. But if you have like a spare €30 in your account and you just want to make a quick tenner, if you invest in the stock market and you got a 33% return in the space of 6 weeks or 2 weeks or whatever it is now, you would be delighted. And that's what people potentially have the opportunity to do. But I'm not here to encourage people to gamble. So gamble responsibly. I don't want to make this a gambling podcast. Never will be. That's just my thoughts. I do like covering it, but I don't tell people what to do. Bet with your own money. That's the President's Cup happening next week. We do also have the PGA Tour is back this week. We go down to the Fortinet Championship down at Silverado. It's an okay field. I don't think it's obviously not the best field that we got, but we do have some names in the field, and we have Max Homa, we have Hideki Matsuyama. Max Homa is obviously coming back as the defending champion. It's a good week. I'm happy that PGA Tour is back. You miss it. The fall swing can be like pretty disengaging for a lot of fans, but it's a chance here for some players to win for the first time. Like say Heath Tagala can win for the first time this week. A little bit about the course. I'll keep this very, very brief. It's bent grass, and Poana makes 7,166 yards, par 72. So a little bit about distances. 9 to 10 par 4s measured between 360 and 450 yards. It's some of the easiest greens to hit on tour. From what I've read, I haven't read too much, but I've read a certain article by Andy Lack on Rick Rungood. This is a wedge and putting contest. I also read another article on, I can't remember who wrote it yesterday, but it's like basically this is a wedge and putting contest. Everything's like 100 to 150 yards. It's not the most incredible golf course in the world, but I think that's what we should be looking for. If you go on to bet in this event, the number one player you'll probably see is Hideki Matsuyama. I don't know what he's at. He's at like 16 to 1 to win outright on Bet365. 16 to 1. The top two players, 16 to 1, Hideki Matsuyama and Max Homa. Hideki's finished 11th and 35th in his last two finishes, and he finished 6th here in 2022. But he's lost strokes off the tee, 6 out of his last 7 tournaments. I would like people who, number one, bomb it, or number two, hit a lot of fairways. Hideki isn't hitting a lot of fairways recently, and he doesn't absolutely bomb it either, like a Cameron Davis, which a lot of people are interested in this week at 33 to 1 or 22 to 1 or whatever he is. Max Homa, he's coming off a 5th place finish at the Tour Championship, and he won here actually last year. The problem with Max is he's lost strokes and approach in his last 6 starts. That's a root for concern for Matt Homa. So do with that what you will. The number one player who a lot of people will look at this week is Corey Connors. To win outright, he's currently 18 to 1. He's 5 top 30s in his last 5 starts. So good consistency coming into this. Now, the problem with Corey Connors is he hasn't won since 2019. The Valero Texas Open in 2019. I don't know what world we're kind of living in where we think Corey Connors could potentially be 16 to 1 or 18 to 1 and hasn't won in the last 3 years. That's pretty absurd. But the thing is, from 50 to 125 yards last season, he was 36th on tour. Strokes gained off the tee last season, he was 5th, and putting, he was like 136. So like, he does have a lot of course fits or stuff that you'd require at this course, but I don't know, not for me. The first person that actually does catch my eye is Taylor Pendrith at 28 to 1. He finished 8th at the BMW, 13th at the Wyndham, which is a little bit of a plotter's course, similar to this. 2nd at the Rocket Mortgage. He can use his distance to his advantage, and he also had 11th, 13th, and 13th in 3 consecutive finishes before that 2nd at the Rocket Mortgage. Like I mentioned, can use distance to his advantage. He was 52nd in 100 to 125 yards proximity last year and 10th in distance. He's not a great putter off the ball. I will say that. But we've seen players turn it around with the putter. Like, the putter is the most volatile aspect of the game, and Taylor Pendrith is pretty appealing at 28 to 1, in my opinion. A lot of people are looking towards Cameron Davis this week. So Cameron Davis, like, in his last two starts were T35, T13, actually even go back further, 14, 16, 6, 8. Like that's a 5 top 16 finishes in his last 6 starts. He's gained strokes ball striking. He gained strokes putting in his last 2 events, and around the green, he's been pretty good recently as well. The thing about Cameron Davis that people really like is the fact that he can just bomb this course away. He averages 308 yards off the tee, 35th off the tee last year in distance. He's 73rd in strokes gained off the tee. From 50 to 125 yards, he's 19th on tour last season. And strokes gained putting, he's 84th. Like he's at 22 to 1 or 33 to 1 if you go bet outright and bet 365. That's pretty appealing to a lot of people, and I've seen a lot of love for him this week. If we keep moving down the board here, I want to also mention these will not be my final bets. These are just some people that I looked at last night and caught my eye straight away. I haven't really gone through the entire field. Ches Reavie is currently 66 to 1. He's 11th from 100 to 125 yards last season. A 5th in driving accuracy, hits a lot of fairways. But the putters have gone pretty cold in his last few tournaments. He's lost strokes putting in his last 5 tournaments, but the ball striking has been good. So he's had a little bit of an off season, whatever it's been. It's been like 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever he's had. Let's just hope he's just taken a look at some of those numbers and said, you know what, I need to work my putting, and he's got his heart out. And then this week he can come back and win a 66 to 1. That'd be pretty tasty. Who else do we want to mention? There's 2 other players I want to mention here. Andrew Putnam has gone 23rd, 5th, 27th, 11th in his last 4 starts. That's pretty decent. He's also ranked 76 on tour from 125 to 150 yards and 100 from 100 to 125 yards. He's 38 in putting last week, so he can get a hot putter. He's good with the wedge. Not good. He's okay with the wedge. He's coming in good form, and bent putt is his favorite putting surface. I pretty like Andrew Putnam at whatever odds he is this week. I think I'm not sure what he is. I should probably search these things up before I do this, but Andrew Putnam is 66 to 1. That's a pretty good number. Last player I'll mention, Stephen Yeager at 100 to 1. T13 at the Wyndham, 5th at the Rocket Mortgage, 22nd at Barracuda. He's not a great wedge player, but listen, like I always mention, these players are 100 to 1. We're just looking for a reason to bet them rather than not bet them. So that's pretty appealing. If we're speaking about unexpectancy and what to not expect, you probably won't expect my next point. Eventually a new podcast series coming out. It might be like a 4-part series, might be an 8-part series, might be a forever series. I don't know. But if you like Irish golf courses, I've been in touch with a guy. We've had a phone call. We've had a few emails. He might be interested in creating a series with me, potentially coming out over the next 2 or 3 weeks. Just going through Irish golf courses, discussing what's needed, what they do, certain aspects, playability, experience of playing each course, the designer, history of the course. If you're interested in that sort of stuff, I promise you, I think this guy is excellent at what he does. I had a phone call with him, and he could tell me things that I never knew about Irish golf courses. I think you really like it. So stay tuned on that on Instagram and Twitter and whatever else for the next few weeks. I think it'll be. Listen, not many people in this space doing that. I think it'll be an interesting listen if you're sitting in the car. If you are sitting in the car, don't do this right now. But when you get home or pull over in the car or do whatever, follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Follow me on TikTok. Like this video. Like this podcast. Comment. Share with a friend. Send it to your dog. Listen to it on your walk. I don't care. Do whatever you got to do. Whatever you want to do. Whatever you feel is appropriate. Let me know what you think of this. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you're listening in the car, safe drive. If you're listening on a walk, I hope it's sunny. It's probably sunny if you're walking because not many people walk in the rain. But do stay tuned. Follow the podcast. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram. Let's get this going. New series potentially coming out in the next few weeks. Go and try to line up a few podcasts, a few guests. I think it's going to be good. We're going to get some winners. We're going to talk a lot about LIV, I'd say. Let's do it. All right, guys. This has been Mark from the Plug Live podcast. Thank you again for listening, and I'll talk